Medicine Women Reveal.
Signs.
Clues.
Information.
Interpreting life and dreams.
Medicine Women Reveal.
Revealing.
Our soul's truth.
Your life is not just an accident. Your soul is bringing in realities you can't see.
Are you paying attention to the signs such as
Financial burdens.
relationship dramas,
Health issues. Not just aches and pains, but stress, anxiety, depression.
do you have a desire to find your life purpose?
Do you want more meaning in your life?
Do you want better than what you have now?
You may be lost in what you feel, but we can help you.
We are here to offer empowerment through enlightenment.
We are here to help you process life issues instead of just coping.
Medicine Women Reveal. Use science, spirituality, and healing tools to help people make sense of their world. They help connect the dots and solve the mysteries. They give direction so people can take ownership of their lives. And now I present Medicine Women Reveal with your soul coaches, Brenda Bates and Jen Toffel.
Hi, you're on the air with Brenda Bates, Medicine Woman, and
Jen Toffel, Medicine Woman.
this is Medicine Woman Reveal. So we've had two show air dates, and I am very happy with that. We're getting, used to everything, which is very good. We're going to let you know that we do take callers, and the phone number would be 989-945-0287. Until we can get used to people and all of this going on. We had to set up two monitors so we can see all the action that's happening at once. How are you today, Jen?
Pretty good.
Okay. And last night we had class, which is Empowerment Through Enlightenment, which happens every Thursday. I had it twice a week on Mondays and Fridays, but I moved it to Thursdays because Medicine Women Reveal became live, and we started to travel and do things. We need the weekend kind of open. So one of the things that was very important about yesterday's class is none of them is a writ script. None of it is I get everything prepared beforehand. It's usually moments before, seconds while everybody comes in, that I acclimate with the people in the room so that the main topic that the soul wants to talk about comes to the head. And what last night was about path switching. And path switching was something that I had to really pay attention to in my life. It happens to everybody all the time. What is your definition of path switching?
Path switch. Before I went on to a path switching, I probably would have come up with a definition that is just a major, it's a major shift in direction in your life.
Yes.
And I guess that still is a spiritual definition, but I understand it differently since I've actually been on one.
True. From the human mindset, we're going to have to explain something first before we go back into path switching, and that is very important. We both understand that there's a human mindset and there's a spiritual mindset. And Einstein would say that you cannot solve the problem with the same mind that created it. I kept asking that question, so what do you mean? What do you mean? And Source finally said that, what you need to understand is what's called the ego. Well, I've spent many years listening to different sides, points of view, and finally I said, okay, I took the information that I thought it was, what my friends thought it was, worldview, and looked up the dictionary. Now, I want you to tell me, Source. And basically, ego stands for electromagnetic guiding omni-apparition. And that is, we are very much electromagnetic being. Everything is. And when we start to use our soul as the recorder that is basically we're spirit first, then soul. And as we decide to make choices with our thoughts, we're the ones that guides what gets projected into this world called an illusion. And this illusion feels very much real. We can use our sensory system and we can argue the fact. But if you understand spiritually, what happens is that we have brought it into form. We projected it into form. When we project it into form, we are fine being spiritually minded, knowing that we created a thought, knowing we projected it through our projection screen, which is the physical body, as we projected it out. The moment that we over-identify, meaning the emotional aspect is that we take and become so, I don't know, identified with the negative aspect, taking to heart, being hurt by it, taking offense, we become over-identifying with matter. When we over-identify with the matter, which is the illusion, we tend to separate our spiritual self from our whole self. We start to say, okay, we don't want the spiritual, we want to be this identification, we are this identification, it feels more real to us. And when that happens, we then our identity is our beliefs, our values, our behaviors, our patterns, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there's core pieces of who you are. So as one is ego, all they need to do is resolve the patterns and the strategies and the issues, and they can then retain their spiritual identity of who they are. They can take and have their core pieces, which is their soul's passion and conviction about who they are, but you don't have to lose yourself into the over-identification and becoming your wounds. Your wounds own you, or they haunt you. Am I getting this right so far?
Yeah, I don't know, when we get into where it fits in, I had some ideas on the idea of divorce and that kind of thing.
Okay, but as far as the ego goes, I've really, like I said, defined it for myself. This is my belief system, and this is part of my voice. And what's nice about the way that we can do things is able to just allow ourselves all to have the free space to be able to say, oh, this is what I think it is. It isn't about right or wrong, it's about our definitions. And like I said, when they started to tell me it's electromagnetic, guiding, omni-apparition, oh my gosh, we're allowing our thoughts to come into being. And it's a lens that we can look through, and we can use our physical body and our sensory system to really feel our creations.
When you put it in forms of electromagnetic, that seems to make more sense to me, with the understanding that we're vibration and frequency. We get so hooked into the idea, you call it a meat suit, I came up with the original, it was last week I think, where when I started calling you're a blob and I'm a blob. It could have been Monday, I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
But it was blob differences, because
and then we go blah 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 with our blob.
Right. Because this amazing stuff called skin that keeps us separate from each other, and it's so easy to get hooked into difference, and I'm different and you're different and this what makes us different, and then I have my voice, you have your voice. When I went through theological school, seminary, through the ordination process, the dean of our House of Studies, the Swedenborg House of Studies, he said, wow, he goes, you're actually focusing on the similarities. He noticed that. I said, well, I get, one of the classes that I had to take was Christian history, and looking at the tree branches of like the difference, and I told you the other day that it feels like it's splitting hairs, but those splitting hairs in history has differentiated between what makes a Methodist, and a Presbyterian, and a Lutheran, a Swedenborgian, a Pentecostal, because there's all these different views, and it's so easy to say that I'm right and you're wrong. But what I started focusing in on was the similarities, and now I may be working with somebody at one of the churches in Lansing, and she said, oh, well, you're Trinitarian, right? And I said, no. I said we're more Unitarian in that understanding the idea of the one God, but it's not separated into the traditional idea of Trinity, though we do believe in Jesus. I mean, and that's where it starts getting into the idea of splitting hairs. One of my colleagues, he loves to talk to people about the Trinity, coming from the Swedenborgian perspective, and he narrowed in on this one guy, and he said, "So do you believe that there's something going around with 3 heads?" And the guy said, "Yes, yes, I do." I'm sorry for the volume. We may have crackled on that one. I apologize. But it was just the emphasis and the passion of this person coming from this perspective,
Right.
that when cornered in, that wow, and it's just like, so it is. We can get so locked in in our human form, and that's where it starts getting into right and wrong. Where now I'm coming in my journey, I'm really going into, well, what makes us similar, where I understand the distinction, because you've got the flavor and the spice of the theology over in this area, and I've got the spice over here, and we can make something that's absolutely wonderful. But it's understanding that maybe these distinctions are important, but that I don't have to be right and you don't have to be right.
Yes, and I love the fact that we're going back into respect. And the more that we create closures, the more that we allow ourselves to understand that this is where I begin, this is where you end, and we have different views, and that's cool because we're part of the kaleidoscope of colors that make up who us are. Now, what's interesting is that I feel like I'm the medium. The spiritual stuff coming through is really having like a lag, or they're having problems bringing information through. I don't know if there's a sun flare or something going on, but the words will not come out. It started yesterday when I was trying to say words. You're all looking at me like, what? It's like I'm missing certain vowels or missing the certain consonants. It's like, ah! Okay, fine. So I'm going to try this again. I'm going to reline up. And what I feel is that when we go and what they told me of why this era of time is that we chose to become and find out more what is yang or yang energy. It's pronounced differently everywhere. But I want you to understand the word I'm saying. And so this yang energy was simply had to come to the forefront, where the yin had to go into the unseen. And it was intentional from our soul's point of view, because we wanted to see what would happen if we kind of separated the two. And as we did, the yang energy, you noticed it on the planet. It seemed like more men were in charge. Again, don't get confused between yang energy and a male body part, okay? But there's properties to yang energy. So as this yang energy is out there, it is supposed to go out there. It's supposed to have conviction. And it has to be one-sided, just for the simple fact is because it separated itself from yin to some degree. It's yin's always there, but it's to some degree it's separated. Now what I've noticed is that one of the things, the strong thing that came from it, was simply right and wrong. And you always have to be right. It's, better off to be right than happy, and in some cases of what some people think. I have seen people are afraid of looking so stupid, they will go after what they think is right. And sometimes the strong, passionate conviction is that they want to shove that truth down your throat. Now, as I watch people, I see the energies playing in and out, and it's all it is energy. If the energy is inside you and is consuming you, then you're still over-identifying with matter. And when you've over-identified with matter so much, then you become not just the role, but it's being in this world, and you're caught up in losing who you are, your true aspect. But at the same time, that's not good or bad, right or wrong. It's about how you chose to play that role